okay? Primarily because what you're doing, this is all dirty, and it doesn't make any difference how clean it is, it's dirty. So when you're putting it on, this is what you're using. You're using your hands to put on your boot covers, you're using your hands to put on your outer garments, your clean garments. So put on a pair of gloves before you put this on. This is dirty. I don't care how clean, you can wash it down with alcohol, bleach, anything else, it's still dirty. Put it on a pair of gloves before you start gowning. When you get done, peel the gloves off, throw those away, and get you another pair of gloves. All right? Gowning procedures with the lab coats are pretty simple. Very little touch the ground. And we do have benches in there to sit on, so if you're old like me and you can't put your feet protection on without sitting down, the benches are there. Okay, once you get your lab coats on, your gloves should go over the cuffs of your over top of your lab coats, or the garments, any of the garments that you wear. There's a lot of different garments that are available in the Class 1000. It's pretty simple, pretty light protocol in that particular application, so it's not that extremely critical. I borrowed one of your jumpsuits, Tyvek. Same thing. These will come in a bag. Now, as your garments come in and they're stored in there, they come in a plastic bag, and there's a reason for that. Everything that's inside that bag is clean. So don't open everything up in the hallway and bring in the individual and put them in the cabinet, because now they're dirty. Leave them in the bag. Open them up inside one at a time. As they run out, restore them. But all that's got to be wiped down before it goes in that room. Especially because the containers on the outside are plastic and they'll pick up static. What static do? Sucks in anything that is close around. Will pick up in there. All right. When you're doing your gowning, don't let anything touch the ground. Okay. Roll up the sleeves, the jacket, get all the way up so your sleeves don't touch the ground, the jacket doesn't touch the ground, the main part of the body doesn't touch the ground. The only thing that you want to touch the ground is the bottom of the booties. Now these have footies in them. That's nice. But if you don't, and you just have regular gowning that doesn't have the booties in them, you're going to put those on last. Those go over top of this. Okay? But don't let this touch the ground when you gown up. You can just roll it all up, get one leg, stick it in, pull it up, but don't let that touch the ground. Because what you've done in that gowning area, it's still a Class 1000 or a Class 100, but it's a gowning area. And we consider that dirty.
What about the bench you sit on?
That's poly bench. During normal cleaning processes through the week, through the day, it all needs to be cleaned down. We suggest, I don't know what you guys use in your fabs when you're cleaning, but we use isopropyl alcohol and clean wipes, and they're non-fibrous. So don't use paper towels.
Well, what do you do if you have a problem and you have tools? What do we do with our tools?
The tools all have to be wiped down before they go in.
That's all I'm saying. That's insane.
Now, what I suggest, let me make a suggestion to you in the clean room. Standard tools, if you guys want to, what we used to do, I worked at Lucent for 7 years under the floor. It all had to be super clean. So what we did is we brought in like a Craftsman toolbox. We cleaned it all down. We bought brand new tools. We cleaned them all down. They went in. They never came out. Nothing ever came out of the clean room. After 7 or 8 years, my toolbox was still there. I left everything there. So it never comes out. But the tools have to be cleaned. If they're scratched, if there's any chance of rust being on it, it's not acceptable in the clean room. If there's no wooden handles, you got a mallet with a wooden handle, you got to tape it up or get something that doesn't have a wooden handle on it. So, pretty tight. Because if you're working with your tools out here, they're dirty. And it's just not acceptable in the clean room.
Do you have a, kind of a standard set of tools that would be required to maintain this?
Open end, box end wrenches, socket set. Basically what you're gonna work on in that room is probably the tools that are in that room. The pieces of equipment that are in that room. And these guys that have already been working on that, they understand tubing cutters, screwdrivers, open end, box end wrenches, basic mechanic tools. Sometimes you get some specialty items that you're gonna need in there for tools. But if you're gonna go in there to work on any of the facilities, it's a simple procedure. Just wipe everything down.
What else in the room that's not equipment? We're not gonna have to work on the equipment itself, but lights, stuff like that that would be what we.
They're all LEDs. You probably
Okay.
should never have to mess around with those.
Spoken like not an electrician.
So what if your outfit hits the ground? Do you start the process over?
Get another one.
Okay. And if you have to sneeze or cough or anything with that mask being the way it is?
All brand new tools,
If-
I think professional.
I mean, you can't, those aren't things you can really.
You can't control, right. If you think that you have a cold and it's gonna be something that you can't control while you're in there, take a couple of masks with you. Put a couple of them on so at least you're controlling that. Let me tell you something. When you guys smell perfume or aftershave, you know what that is? Those are particulates. Okay? That's a gas in the air. That's a particulate. And some of the clean rooms that we have done are even lower certification than these, class 10. You bathe, you don't put anything on, you don't put deodorant on, you don't put aftershave on, no perfume, you don't wear any jewelry in there, because all of this generates particulates.
What about deodorant?
Nope,
You just said that.
no
What
deodorant.
do you do is you come to work and you already have
Yep.
deodorant on.
What do you shower with? I mean, if you're
No,
showering.
he's talking about a class way above what this is.
Yeah, yeah. And generally, when you got a class 10 clean room, you've got locker rooms where this all, you can go in there and take care of it.
You don't have to-
But,
Well, like if one of us gets called, it's gonna be for a leak or something of that nature, so,
That's probably already making it unclean to begin with.
yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, if we're coming into a room that's leaking, do we have to suit up and do all that? I mean, we're way past that at that point.
yeah, if it's a catastrophic issue, fix it. Because there's gonna be more damage done than, but fix it. But the room has to be cleaned down after you get
Well, I
done.
get that, we
So-
don't wanna waste a half an
No.
hour suiting up if there's a leak in there.
Something's
Barrel and water, right?
Mouthwash.
Mouthwash is,
How does 10 minutes ago?
Well,
it's,
could be a gas.
it still creates an issue, yeah. Anything that you can smell, particulates. You got body odor, that's a particulate. Yes,
How often these gowns should be cleaned?
the gowns need, if they're Tyvek, they need to be thrown away. Okay, one time, use it one time. Just remember, if you go into the clean room and you go out, you step outside of the door, you stick that arm outside the door, that arm is now dirty. Okay? It's dirty. If somebody's gonna bring something into you, they bring it into the gowning area. That's where it's cleaned. You do a clean outside to make sure it's all wiped down, but you bring it inside. You've got pass-throughs. So if somebody is totally, like if you're in the class 100 room, and you need to get something from the class 1000 to class 100, and you're not gowned up for class 100, open up the box, you slide the stuff in, close the door, the other guy on the other side opens it up and takes it out. Okay?
Did you say that this is on one continuous system, all the clean rooms? Like the filtration system is?
It's actually, the house air coming in, the supply, is on one system.
So if we had a leak in one of these rooms, would then all the clean rooms then have to get shut down if we had to go in there and
No, because it's pressurized.
Right. Not necessarily. What happens with the fan filter still moving, you're still moving air.
Right.
You just don't have any makeup air coming in,
Okay.
okay?
So it won't contaminate the other rooms if we have a leak or something.
Two
going
separate
on.
systems.
Okay.
It's split right in half. The Class 100 is a room by itself. The Class 1000 is a room by
Okay.
itself. The makeup air comes down and it splits. You've got two VAVs that generate heat to each room.
Gotcha.
They're individually regulated, okay?
Are they in the room?
They're in the ceiling.
They are.
They're in interstitial space. That interstitial space up there is a return air plenum. The only thing that's ducted in there is the makeup air that actually comes into the return air. That's all return air plenum up there. So it comes in, goes around in there and down through the filters and out, back up through, so it just continually circulates.
Probably should mention that those VAV boxes are actually above the Class 1000 area.
Yep.
And you have access panels, and we could show them where they are located so they can
The
access.
fact that the Class 100 area has absolutely no space available, it's all fan filter units. What we've done is we've provided 7 locations throughout the clean room, one in the gowning area of the Class 100 as an access panel to get up and go in there if you have to, okay? And you can't actually literally get up there and get on top of that. You gotta be careful, but you can get up in there and move around on it. It'll hold your weight. My electrician's about 6'3" and weighs 290 pounds. He's been all over the place up there. So there's not a lot of room. If you're claustrophobic, don't go up there. If you do go up there, make sure that there's 2 people, okay? Because that could be considered confined space, okay? In the Class 1000, we've got multiple access panels. They're the full panels. Everything in there is clipped. It's to hold it down, except for the access panels. And what I did is I designated the access panel with a little white dot that's in the center of the panel. Now, if you look up, you'll see the whole panel is shiny, except for that little white dot. It's about the size of a dime. And that's an access panel. You can push it up, you can move it around, you can get on up and do what it's a weighted panel. So it's not gonna float with the pressure in the room. That's why we clip the ceilings down so that the pressure will not lift them. But there's 7 of those in that area. Most of them are strategically located around valves, some of the more important areas that may need some care after the fact.
We can assume these grids are pretty heavy-duty steel and are attached to the deck and all, you can get up there and get around on them.
They're rod hung.
Okay.
It's all rod hung.
Okay, perfect.
But we should mention that it's not a walkable ceiling, it's really not intended to be
Yeah.
that,
Right.
but we know that the weight could be supported. I would recommend try to work off of ladders as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. This old fat guy crawled around up on there, so, you know, if you got somebody that needs to get up
So
there.
who's trained on the cleaning of the room? Are you, I assume you're in charge of the space, or no? So who's doing the cleaning? Is it the university's cleaning services, or is it the people who are operating the space who will be doing the
Probably the people that are operating the space. Unless they want to bring some of the cleaning people in and give them some training on protocol on cleaning. But I would certainly think there would probably be some of the students in the space that would be wanting to maintain that level of protocol in that room.
I guess my question, since we're all here, is if we have to come in and do some maintenance, then who do we contact to say the room needs to be cleaned down again?
That's probably Kutchen.
Yeah.
Who?
Kutchen.
He's supposed to be in charge of the clean room. He's the adjunct faculty here, well, regent faculty here.
And understand, they're not big rooms, okay? They're not that big, so it doesn't take that much to actually clean it on down. But you just have to have a mindset of this is a very clean room. That Class 1000 room, the lesser of the 2, is about 20 times cleaner than an operating room in a hospital. Okay? So, we clean the floors, the walls, the ceiling, above the ceiling, all the interstitial, everything's wiped down up there. In an operating room, they might clean the floor. They don't clean the walls. If anything hits the walls, sometimes they go clean that. But so way more than an operating room in a hospital. Yes, sir.
I got one more question about the wiping down. So we make our films or samples in one lab, and then we have to bring it in for the lithography.
Mhm.
The best we can do is just wipe down the outside of the sample box, but we can't really wipe down the inside. That will destroy our films. So the
What
best
is-
we can do is just blow it with some nitrogen, but that still happens in the regular lab. What should we do at that point?
What is your box made out of?
Just plastic.
Okay, that just, what we normally suggest is keeping a spray bottle of isopropyl alcohol and wipes handy. So when it comes in, you can just wipe out the outside container, slide that in through your pass-through, and then let it go from there.
So if there's some particulates in a small volume, that's still acceptable?
Keep in mind, you are not gonna keep this thing clean.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna happen. But it's good to think about it. I mean, it's not that you're gonna contaminate it to the point that it's gonna fail. But you have to keep a constant mindset of keeping everything clean.
Is it recommended for us to clean, to wipe all the laptop like tweezers that we brought in there, we bring in there?
Usually all the tools are there, you don't bring any tools, you minimize anything which you bring from outside. Vapors or whatever, small containers, and that's only
Yeah.
things. And usually even all of the, all of the processing stuff are there. Whatever, just the vapor with the smallest containers possible.
If you've got tools that you know that you're gonna use constantly, every single day, in the processes that you have a set of tools set up that are in the clean room, never leave, never leave.
And they're
When you-
also marked.
When you
for whatever.
retire and move away, the tools will still be there. So, but the more that you can think about it, wipe everything down. If you have somebody in the fab itself that can be deemed a protocol officer, just to keep an eye on stuff coming in. Whoa, stop, did that get wiped down? It'll minimize everything that goes in that room.
There are special types of paper, special types of pens to use there, and they also sit there all the time for your record.
Even a laptop, the
Ah,
notebook.
No,
They are clean room notebook.
yeah,
Right.
they are there.
The clean room paper is not paper. Okay? It's just like a dollar bill. A dollar bill is not paper, it's cloth. And that's primarily what that is. The paper for a clean room is a cloth. And then you have your writing implements are also for clean room application. You don't have markers, you don't have pencils, nothing with wood.
I would guess it would be a computer, of course, where all of the exchange of information you can share back and forth from the space to the lab or office. So you don't really need anything to carry.
Now keep in mind, if you got a laptop that's going in and out,
No.
it's gotta be cleaned. So, and trust me, the keyboard's gotta come out to clean it, because if you've ever pulled your keyboard out, you're gonna know that that is probably the filthiest place in the entire laptop. So, if you're gonna do that, leave a laptop in there. Anything else?
I guess at this point, we'll walk up to the clean room, right?
We go down to clean room and kind of give you the $2 show. Everybody gives a $2.